Hello, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to the RAVORI Sports Conversation. Like and subscribe to all of our social media content here. So, I want to thank all of you for joining us here. Definitely check out next video, a big video, instant reaction, MLB draft, instant reaction as well. We're on live during the draft. We'll talk about the Orioles and Royals that day. So keep that in mind as well. Genesis Notary Services here in Winchester, Virginia. If you know, you know. So if you live in Winchester, and definitely to thank all of you that have participated in that as well. See Charles Harris, wearelegalshield.com. Definitely to get Legal Shield. Get Legal Shield. I'm telling you, it'll save you a lot of money. We're talking to a business owner today as well that definitely as well, if you have a small business or definitely if you have children, get a will done and with Legal Shield here as well. And we have here OG, you could call him one of the OGs of Baltimore sports content here. A long time he's been doing this here. Chris Stoner from Baltimore Sports and Life as well. He has a blog that's been around for a very, very long time as well. So definitely to some of the names we know, former Sun writers, etc., knows all about Baltimore sports and Baltimore sports blogging and everything like that. So he was kind enough to join us today. How you doing, Mr. Insightful?
Charles, doing great. Sun's out, spring's here, NFL draft tonight. Great to be with you. Thanks for taking the time.
Christmas is here, brother. Christmas is here. So we're airing this actually after the draft, but we're here today. We're recording this on Thursday. Christmas is here, one of my favorite days of the year, NFL draft. You've been at this a long time watching the Baltimore sports as well. So let's start with the Ravens as well. Obviously, we don't know what the draft is going to look like as well. We are entering, obviously, a new era here. So for the first time in almost 20 years, we're going to have somebody not named John Harbaugh on the sideline for the Ravens. New coach Jesse Minter is in as well. Totally new staff. What was your opinion of Harbaugh in general as well? Now that he's gone as well, he's been busy in New York already too.
Yeah, Harbaugh was here a long time, right? I thought some of the arguments that the voice goes stale. I don't know if I necessarily believe that because your roster's always constantly changing, but I did think maybe it was time for a change. I always thought Harbaugh was probably best Monday through Saturday and maybe not so great on Sunday, game day.
Why do you say that?
I don't know how much a head coach is directly impacting on Sunday, but for what you could watch and evaluate, to me, the team was generally over his tenure consistently prepared. They were ready to play. They had a Ravens mentality, right? But on Sunday, if you were going to nitpick, I mean, there were certain errors that consistently showed up with the teams, and well, not to put it all directly on him, but also, some of the time management, in particular issues. Those kind of drove me nuts on Sunday. That wouldn't be why I would have made the switch. I just thought it was probably time for him and the organization to move on. I'm sure he will have success in New York. He had young talent he was coming into. They've added in free agency, and they'll have a decent schedule. So I'm sure he'll have some immediate success with the Giants. But I'm pretty happy the Ravens were able to move on.
So you were for him leaving. So you thought it was time. Did you sound like somebody definitely who was for John Harbaugh? I wasn't for or against. Really, I
was fairly ambivalent, but I did think it was a time to move on. If nothing else, then I think the fan base was largely out, and I think it's pretty hard when you're going to go into another off season with most of the fan base kind of ready for a change, and they're looking at the leadership and kind of side eyeing that. I just think it was best for all parties that to move forward.
Jesse Minter's in. He's actually worked for the Ravens before. This is how he has this relationship with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was actually the backup quarterback after Benny Mintz was here running the scout team, and he was on the defense, and so that's how they know each other, have a good relationship with each other. Totally different now. Jesse Minter's the head coach. Lamar Jackson now the starting quarterback. What have you seen from Jesse Minter so far? He's a bit quiet for a head coach here so far in the beginning for me.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of opinions on him other than what we saw him accomplish with the Chargers, and obviously understanding he got some of the hardball tree with him, right? And he's enthusiastic, right? He's that much younger. I mean, Harbaugh, I don't think he was particularly old. What, 64, somewhere around there?
I think Harbaugh was like 62 or 63 years old.
Somewhere around there, right? So Jesse's 20 plus years younger. You'd think you'd be able to identify a little bit more of the locker room, right? Just being that much younger. For me, head coach aside, you're always looking. The continuity of the Ravens would be, for me, it's, hey, DeCosta is still there. Newsome is still has a leadership position, and you start from there, and you're having, I don't think the mentality of who the Ravens are, or who they've been as an organization for decades now, is going to change. And, that leads us to tonight and the draft. And, I know you're excited. This will air afterwards, but I'm interested to see how that goes.
The draft. This is Eric DeCosta's baby. This is how he got the job as GM. A lot of teams were interested in him as GM before he became the GM. Ozzie Newsome stepped down. I think this is the main reason. Obviously, I think Ozzie did step down, so they wouldn't use Eric DeCosta. Where are you at with DeCosta as well? Kind of like what we're seeing. We'll get to the Orioles, but kind of like what we're seeing with Mike Elias and Abanez. All right, you're not going to have John Harbaugh to blame anymore. Right? People are going to be mad at you now. Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of truth to that, right? Harbaugh served as somewhat as a buffer for that. DeCosta was always, with Newsome, it was always in Ozzie we trust. And DeCosta at this point, if you look at the rosters the Ravens have put out from like 19 on, basically every year that Jackson has been fully healthy, they've been, pretty much exceptional. They just haven't closed at the end. I mean, there is pressure from the top down to get over the hump, and if they don't, then everyone will have further accountability. I mean, not that I expect any. I can't imagine any scenario where after the year DeCosta's not the GM, but the seat does get warmer if they don't, move forward and progress. For this year, they got to get back to the playoffs, and then you want to see them achieve something once there. But it becomes, each year it's revving up. You're looking at, Jackson is no longer the young kid. you're that further down the road. He's that much more of the contract, and everyone's. You can already picture all the national stories that exist. Is this the year for the Ravens? Will they get it done? Will they return? And you kind of nailed it right away. I mean, no Harbaugh, no buffer. So you're not getting rid of the quarterback. So
would he ever be as good of a GM, I think, as Ozzie Newsome was? Or will he ever be as perceived as that? Well, even all these years he's been now, it's been 7 or 8 years. I think right? It's something like that. In a lot of ways, I still kind of see him as Ozzie's sidekick in some ways. I think some of the fan base will he ever be able to go ahead and surpass Ozzie in the minds of people and think?
Well, it's pretty hard to surpass Ozzie when Ozzie goes Ogden and Ray with first 2 picks to start off the Ravens franchise, and Ozzie had great staffs, DeCosta included, but also like Phil Savage and Ortiz. I mean, you're trying to build an organization as a whole, and whoever's the decision maker at the top, they get the credit or the blame. But ultimately, it's the organization that you built as an entirety. The Ravens, by any measure, have been a successful organization in their tenure and under DeCosta's tenure as well. But they have not won it all, and those are the expectations. So if you fail to meet those expectations, then the critics continue to rise. So do I think he can match what Ozzie did? I mean, the bar is pretty high, but start with one. Let's get one under the belt and go from there.
One more thing on the Ravens, real quick. Max Crosby, what happened? So
I think sorry to interrupt. I just with Crosby, they wanted it. They got him in the building, and they looked at the medicals and decided, I'm not. If they had any second doubts, the medicals were enough to scare him off of the contract. I think he was a better player overall than Hendrickson because of his ability on the edge there, which apparently Hendrickson lacks. But when you take out the collateral that they were going to spend, I'm pretty happy just to have the pass rusher there and not have to have also provided the collateral for Crosby. So sorry it didn't work out, but I mean, that's the game. You can't just give him the contract and move forward if you don't have confidence in his ability to stay on the field during the duration of that contract.
I don't think it was the medicals. I think it was all Henderson. I think the medicals it gave him some concern, but I think they might have done it anyway had it not been available.
I mean, it's possible. Maybe they just looked at it, didn't expect Henderson to still be available, and then looked at the price and said, okay, here is something we can point to. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to know directly in the room. I would just say it looked like, from the outside that they really did want Crosby, but, everything's a price. And maybe they took another look at it a couple days later and said, look, Hendrickson's still there. This is available to us. Let's what are we doing here exactly? So I think it worked out for the Ravens. Sorry if Crosby's still a little hurt about it, but it worked out okay if you're a Ravens fan.
Was it the right decision? Do you think this will work out better as if they had traded for him? That's the million.
Yeah, I think so. Again, Crosby might be better with his ability to set the edge, but you got a quality pass rusher, which was the main goal, and you saved your draft collateral. So I think that's a win.
Orioles have started here, 2026 season. So far at this recording, I think we're one game under 500 as well. Offense has really struggled here. Alonso, good, not great yet. Gunnar, good start, a little bit of a slump. What are you seeing so far? Biggest takeaway from you so far for the Orioles?
The Orioles, 12-13, 25 games in. It's like 14% of the season. So usually it takes about 2 months in baseball for numbers kind of normalize to where you have a real idea what's going on, but just kind of a quick look. I mean, you knew the offense was going to be power dependent. If they don't, they're expected to have a lot of power. If they don't produce slugging wise, they're going to struggle to put up runs. Obviously, they've dealt with a number of injuries so far, but I would imagine they will hit plenty of home runs as this year goes on. On base wise, I'm not sure. Defense has issues. Starting rotation, Rogers and Bradish, you need to lead the rotation. Then you're hoping Boz can be a solid 3. There are issues there. you feel good that Kremer was available to come back as the fifth when Eflin went down, but Bassett, he might be, hard to say, but he might be Charlie Morton 2.0. He looks like 37-year-old guy to really
Oh,
struggle.
I've been saying it. Ain't no. It's hard to say for me. I've been saying it. I mean, my goodness.
I think it's the right thing. I think it's the right, call. I feel bad. He does look like though he's fallen off a shelf. I mean, he's geared as a guy that's supposed to have like actually 7 or 8 different pitches that he uses, but it all looks like slop right now. And the last 2 outings that he had a 5-inning outing where no runs allowed, and then he had this last outing in Kansas City, and which is statistically a little bit better, but both just looking at it was a real struggle. So it's kind of hard to envision him providing the 30 starts and 170 innings they were envisioning from him. So maybe Povich, maybe it's going to be his time again soon.
Yeah. How much longer do they do this with Brett? I mean, yeah, Povich has been unexpectedly solid and was in his last start where he was at the big league level here. And so,
yeah, I mean, they've got the it's a 1-year contract with some decent money. So, and it's a long-term veteran. It's really, they're going to look at him and, they have to make the evaluation. Do they think it's a fixable here, or adjustments to be made, or has he really legitimately fallen off the cliff? Overall, where the Orioles are, I think it's about treading water until around June, with the hope that you get Westberg back at third. You'll see where Holiday is. He's obviously had the latest issue with the hammock bone and surgery there, but I've been pleasantly surprised by the bullpen. The defense is an issue. The rotation has some possibilities, and
defense has been terrible.
Defense has been terrible
this year, Chris. I mean, my goodness. I mean,
that's not going to really improve. I mean, if you just look around, if Westberg gets back, if he is able to come back, he can improve third. But if you look at the rest of the diamond, it's Ward is subpar in left. Cowser, can he stay in the lineup enough hitting wise to if he is, he's an average center fielder. Tavares, is getting most of the starts right now in center. He's a below average center fielder. They could bring up Bradfield at some point if need be, and that would give him a boost in center. But yeah, defense definitely been an issue all year. That's probably not something likely to improve.
Tavares is decent enough in center. At least he's a center fielder. He's not a second Mullins or anything like that. But yeah, Cowser isn't a center fielder. I mean, he can play center. There is a difference.
Yeah, 24, all the defensive metrics showed Cowser to be kind of an exceptional left fielder and average center fielder. And that's kind of where he's been last year and into this year, right around average. And nothing special. Tavares, 23 and 24, he played something like 140 plus games both years with the Rangers, played mostly center field in that time. He's probably a below average center fielder overall, but he actually looks like a legitimate, he can be there and it'll be fine. Certainly the Orioles are lucky they have him right now with the offense cold overall. He's been providing a lift.
Looking at the Taylor Ward defense again, it's just been terrible as well. Rogers, even now, last 2 starts, not as good. All season, all anybody told me was Kyle Bradish is going to be your number 1 starter. Kyle Bradish, we're not believing what we saw last year with Rogers, et cetera, et cetera. Has a good first 2 starts, kind of struggled a little bit more in his last 2. Any starting pitching, I mean, the whole rotation is really a concern. Who do you think is going to turn it around here?
I do love some Kyle Bradish, but he's made 5 starts this year, and 4 of them he's allowed 3 walks. And I know all the pitchers right now are going through the adjustments with the parts of the automated strike zone. The walks are way up across Major League Baseball, so maybe he's not alone. I love the stuff. Even without these the questionable control so far this year, the question is always going to be with him: can you last through the year, and how many innings can you provide? But I believe he'll adjust. Rogers, in the offseason for me, I just was thinking, can you be a consistent number 3 throughout the year? I mean, what he did last year was fairly remarkable. I mean, this was a guy that was basically looked at as a 5th starter, and all of a sudden he's back up in the majors, and over like 19 starts, he winds up, I think, in the top 10 in the Cy Young balloting in the American League, which was pretty wild. The Orioles need him to be – he's got to be at least a consistent 3rd starter, and the upside for the Orioles, if it exists, is like him and Bradish finding another gear. Those two and Boz have made 15 starts already, and you need more out of that group if the Orioles are going to take take another step and really become a contender this year.
Do you think that's going to happen? Are the Orioles a contender in 2026?
Not as currently composed. I do think they have a roster that, not to be vague, but I think they have a roster that can contend. I think they can get to 90 wins, high 80s, 90 possibly, and be a wild card. If they want to win the division, they'd have to be up around 95. Right now, you're seeing, a defensive laps, base running laps, an offense that's only reliant on power, and they don't get on base at a high enough level. It's a little bit hard right now to say, yeah, they're definitely going to be a contender. But if they get a couple of pieces back, and Rogers and Bradish, if they take a step, which ability-wise they have it, can they find the consistency? Yeah, they have the components. I think at the deadline they're likely to wind up having to need a piece or two, and we'll see if they're able to acquire that. Otherwise, outside of the injuries, then you're looking at and we saw a couple of them warm up in Kansas City in this last series, but Basallo and Mayo, Cowser, and Beavers, that quartet, you got to get more out of that group in particular.
On the RAVORI Sports social media channels, the Oriole fans are killing 2 people the most. Some more than others, but Cowser, good luck. I can't find anybody. Everybody wants to run him out, run him to the minor leagues, etc. The other one is Michael Elias. I'm still shocked. I think shocked maybe is overcooking the grits, but a little surprised he's still here. Considering what just happened is here. Now you don't have this great minor league system anymore. All these guys now are in the majors. Holiday, Cowser, Mayo. We're seeing the results right here. So,
yeah, I would
say
they
have a long leash regardless. What do you think of Michael Elias?
So, 2 parts there. Let's start with Cowser, just as an example. So, Cowser, 24. He had 153 games, I believe. Strong in left field, and the average was low, but he hit for enough power, and that his overall numbers were fairly solid. He was a legitimate major league regular. Last year, a lot of injuries, 90-some games. Hitting was pretty abysmal, and we've seen that continue into the start of 26, where it looks like anytime you don't throw him a fastball, he just has no idea what to do. Any breaking ball, he's just, he's a mess right now. Obviously, that has to be addressed. If you can't adjust, it's always a game of adjustments. If you can't adjust back, then you're pretty limited. And he's going to wind up being either a platoon bat or a reserve. The other thing there with his slow start is this is a guy that is supposed to feast on right-handed pitching. He's only faced I think he's only had 3 at-bats for his left-handers so far, and he hasn't been hitting the right-handers either. So, yeah, it's a slow start for him, and the clock is ticking. With Elias, you started the show. You mentioned been at it a long time, and that's just because I'm old. So, I've been doing this a long time, and my thought was the Orioles, from like most of my fandom, I really disliked the organization, how they operated for so many years, because they didn't do the little things right. And Elias, I didn't ever think he was a magician, but I thought he built an organization that made sense. Where, all right, we're going to start with from the ground up and build for scouting, player development. And of course, he was helped by he came into an organization that had a few couple of pieces, and then through the existing tanking, they were, and they're drafting high and also having further draft salary cap, they were able to add a number of pieces, and they built that collectively. It's kind of similar to what we said with DaCosta. At some point, you've got to win, and the Orioles have built an organization where, starting from like 23, where you're on the clock to win. I hope to always build a team that has a longer window and a longer opportunity to, more bites at the apple versus going in just on 1 year, hoping I grab, the trophy that year. I want more chances. And I always think in baseball in particular, you get to the postseason, I think it's just a crapshoot roll of the dice. I mean, they're short samples, but you got to get there first. You want to win a championship, you got to get to the postseason first. Right here in the 26, I've been someone that has been an Elias fan, but there are questions right now, and there are real issues with the roster as we identified, previously. And the clock is ticking. You have got to maximize the core that is here. But on the other hand, if the core that has assembled, that you have built, if they are not going to perform at the levels that you expected them to perform, there is nothing that you could do. If Adley Rutschman, who has struggled the last 2 years prior to so far what we've seen in 26, if he's not an all-star, there isn't really, you don't, there's no easy answer for that.
They seem to like churn as well in the roster. I think some of it is injuries, but they seem to not want to, be the guy with the girl, the guy that has the girlfriend for 10 years, and you ask him when's the wedding, and then there's no wedding. Oh, well, I'm kind of just thinking of, like, they seem to like to move things like they won't, they say they're committed to Adley, but you got Messiah and you give him this big contract, or you bring in Pete Alonso and you didn't trade Mountcastle. They seem to do stuff like that and say, well,
I think those are examples where they want some additional depth, some additional options. For where I was saying is like where you want more bites at the apple. I would think the good counter to that would be, well, Chris, the last 2 years, Morton and Bassett, and let's look at Bassett particularly this year. Like, you went with the 1 year option. You went with a guy that still put up some quality outings last year for the AL champion Toronto Blue Jays, but he's 37 years old, and you run the risk that he's going to fall off, and that's what we're seeing right now. Whereas there were other options available of somebody that might have been that much more likely to help the current roster. And at some point, the questions are there. If this core doesn't, at the minimum, this team has to make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs this year, and as I'll say this as somebody that has been an Elias supporter, I think it does become hard for him to stay around.
Certainly, though, the fan base has had enough, I think, in a lot of ways. I think, like I said, he's very
It's been a really tough product to watch since the second half of 24, right? So I mean, last year was a mess. Second half of 24 was pretty rough, and so far we've seen a team that's at best you could say that they're hanging around, but the product is tough to watch. I mean, it's a ton of strikeouts. It's the defense. It's not there. It's base running errors. It's uh, it's tough, but I mean, you need the pieces that you are saying that you're building around to perform. Gunnar Henderson in 25, he played like an all-star. In 24, he played like an MVP. Right now in 26, he's despite the 7 homers, he's really struggling. But it's again, it's
Gunner has looked much better already, despite the struggle lately. Like
yeah,
I think he did at any point last year. I believe it now,
yeah,
seeing it
I think so.
that he
Yeah,
was playing injured. He's driving the ball a lot better.
yeah, I would agree with that, and I imagine at the end of the year the numbers will be there. Same for Alonso. I think the numbers will be there, but it's when you're struggling and you look at any little stretch in the season, but particularly the start of the year where all the eyes are more focused, it adds up. I think right now everyone in Baltimore that is an Orioles fan is kind of they're apprehensive. They're waiting for the other shoe to drop. They want to see this team take off, and you're looking at the issues and wondering if it can come together. It can, but there are legitimate issues out there.
I mean, we've had struggles with the Ravens last year more than usual. Orioles more than usual. The Terps football were not great at all. I'm surprised. You talk about a guy I'm surprised still has a job is Mike Loxley. I was shocked by that. And Buzz Williams struggled mightily.
So
we're waiting.
It's if you're a fan base of all four, like I am, it's been a tough stretch. But if you want to focus directly on the Ravens and Orioles parallel, expectations for the Ravens were sky high. You didn't meet them. They went in the last year as the Super Bowl favorite when the season kicked off. End the year with that being Harbaugh's last year, and you didn't reach the postseason. Baseball, expectations were a little bit tempered last year, but they were still expected to be a playoff team. This year, you had a fairly strong offseason, or you retooled. You're trying to contend again, expecting contend. They're probably 4 of the 10, 12 best teams in the American League East, even though it hasn't started off like that so far this year. And each of these games matter. They add up. Terps football and basketball. Glad to talk about those as well if you want, but yeah, we'll some other time.
Well, real quick, Terps last year. As I wrote an article, as bad as a team as I've ever seen. You got to go back to the 80s for a Terps team to be that bad as well. Like Buzz Williams, though, I think he took over a very difficult situation, and he has an outstanding recruiting class coming in as well. Able to bring back Pharrell Payne, Andre Mills. Buzz, turn it around next year, you think?
I do, and I'm kind of the arguing against the majority on my board, but I do think he will. Payne, they're still waiting for the waiver, but I expect that will happen by all indications. As you said, they had a 4-man recruiting class. I think it was 10th overall, but then the portal class 6-man, that was 16th, and combined they're like I believe 5th nationally. And what they added through the portal in particular, to me, they added a ton of experience. They added some toughness. They're not going to get out just bullied on the court next year. Buzz. So it was a tough spot. You come in after April, the whole roster's gone. I got to bring in a new roster. That's tough showing. Payne, obviously, they were keeping him out with the hoping to get the other year eligibility when they could have a better roster. If Payne plays all this past year, I think they're a normal, below average, below bubble team, but not a disaster. Once he went out, they just had no ability to compete in the front. In the front court.
Buzz Williams just couldn't do what he does, and that's what it looked like. And so he was doing stuff like that was different. So he was trying to speed the game up. He was trying to shoot more, and the guys, he just didn't have it. What he knows how to do is with their pressure defense, get offense off the pressure defense and all that, et cetera. And he couldn't do any of that this year. He just didn't have the players.
And a couple of guards that they brought in, Wagner and Bishop. So the question is going to be, can they run a half-court set? Can they score enough? Can they shoot enough from three? But what they both have, ton of SEC experience, physical guards there. Team them with Mills plus Ladudan there at the three. The New Mexico power forward they brought in. If he's there with Payne,
Nick Blake won't be back though.
Nick Blake, but they will be able. They'll control a lot of the boards, and they've got a roster that I think will suit Buzz, and I think they will be. They'll go into the preseason. You'll see all the write-ups. They'll be somewhere like probably 12th in the Big Ten and top 40. But I think it's a team that has top 25 capability, and we'll get to the tournament next year. That's my thought.
I tend to agree. Certainly, they couldn't do any worse than this year as well. And so you're a Kevin Willard fan, right? You're a big no.
I mean, I was kind of ambivalent. I didn't like him when I didn't care. I didn't care for him when he was at Maryland, and then when he left, it was like okay. But the I wasn't.
I had last year. I had Derek Lewis on, who was Bert Terp's player a long time ago, and he kind of did the same thing you just did. He kind of, I can't really. So that kind of tells you all you need to know. Not saying it sometimes it explains it as much as it is like really letting you rip it time.
I liked his last team. I'll give him that, but it was I wasn't sorry to see him leave. So
no, it's funny too. In the last part on that, it's like even with the season the Terps just had, you would think there would be some that would no. There was there was no one I saw. At least probably going to say that we like even the guys, the Maryland guys went to him. He had issues and things like that. Well, one guy quit because of he's got some personality issues as well. Even though he's won some games, even though he did get the Wildcats back in the tournament. Let's talk about you, man. So you've been working at the blog Baltimore Sports and Life for a long time as well. You are like at it as long as I can think of anybody as far as outside of the Sun, etc. I think of like your blog and Drew Forster is kind of the two that are the really immersed not just in the sports but the city of Baltimore as well. What made you actually get it's 09, right? Am I getting that right? When you started?
Yeah, 09's right. And I'll give you a quick rundown. Thank you for that. So I started the site. I was working for T. Rowe Price, like the other half of Baltimore. That's always worked at T. Rowe, and it was during the financial crisis. So great time there, be working in a financial services company, and started the blog as a diversion, and then started having more incremental success. And then it was, could we make this a full-time venture? And I started pitching out to VCs and angel investors and continuously striking out. So I was kicking the can down the road, making no money, but how do we work this? So the other part of the company is a business development group called Pace Setters. It's a little convoluted, but Pace Setters is a part of Baltimore Sports and Life. And we started that Baltimore chapter in March 2018. We have chapters in Baltimore, Annapolis, DC, and Frederick, and business development group. So it's one company per industry, per chapter. It's fun putting that together, putting people together in a room that have, they're all looking for direct business, but they're looking for amplification. They're looking for savings. And you're trying to find individuals, companies, organizations that really have a mentality of how can they help the others in the room, and utilizing that as a starting point. So it's been fun putting that together. A lot
You
of
have
people,
actually, from what I saw on the, you don't have just like, you have senior leaders networking. Yes, I mean you have a lot of this, not just, I mean maybe not just senior leaders, but I saw a lot of VP, owner, those type people that are setting. And so these people are not just guys that these are decision makers in the city in your networking. Yes.
well, here in Baltimore, I mean, it's Baltimore, and it's always half a degree of separation. And so the companies that we have, yes, we have access to the leadership of everybody, the representation they send to the meetings. It can be anybody within their organization, but typically it's business development, sales, marketing, or C-suite. And that can vary organization or company to company. So it's 170 companies and organizations that are part of our 4 chapters, and that certainly keeps us busy. I know I certainly didn't anticipate that when I started a blog, just how things kind of organically develop. I've seen a lot of blogs and sites, some quality writers go over the years, and it's been fun to keep it going. I would like to be able to do more writing than I do, but the business side keeps it plenty busy right now.
I hear you. I got multiple businesses, and all that seems cool to have all these businesses. And now that they're actually moving more, it's a lot of work. You can't do everything.
Yeah,
I'm experiencing that right now.
You try and balance it all out, and try and hopefully it's still fun for you. So the people that I saw that burned out at some point, it just became more work for them than diversion, and or more an outlet that was fun. And so I hope it stays fun for you. I saw what you've developed. Congrats on that. You've really built something here. And I see, as you mentioned, I saw you're wearing multiple hats professionally. You're doing multiple different things. So congrats to you on what you've been able to build and accomplish here.
Oh, well, thank you. That was unexpected, so I appreciate that. And for me, just real quick, it's fun. These is all things I really love doing anyway. So there's some monotony, there's some busyness to it, but I'm having a blast doing it, and it's purposeful for me. It's a little different though when you bring in other people. They're not you in that sense. So I do try and get that everybody's not like me in that sense. It is a bit of a, what is the correlation with sports in particular that you thought where that was it? Because this is like sports and business, because obviously when you talk about marketing anything in Baltimore, the Terps and the Ravens and the Orioles are at the center of a lot of it, right? So like, a lot of big businesses or even smaller businesses have corporate tickets and all that. So what did you see the correlation for both?
Directly, I'm not sure that I did immediately see a correlation. For me, the way it started was, again, I couldn't find larger business funding behind me, and we've had a core audience, but if we wanted to grow it, we had to have some level of advertising behind us to be able to pay for other writers, and build out. And so if we're not able to obtain the advertising that we were seeking early on, those partners, what other avenues did we have? So building this business development group allowed us to keep the lights on and keep kicking the can down the road and continue to try and build. But it's Baltimore, and people come together. your name, it takes time to build something and sustain it. And we've had ebbs and flows of our audience and material that we put out. We've had a lot of quality writers write for us. So I think we've had 5 different writers go on and work for major league teams in scouting or player development. So we've had a lot of quality material, but you're trying to always continue to build. So now where I would find a correlation is in our meetings with pace setters, and I'm meeting with, we have each of our chapters meet monthly, and the meetings are half open networking, and the second half is kind of smaller table groups of a topic of the day. But again, the correlation where it would be is I try and tell people, picture a year as a season, right? And where are you on the season? What, and thinking about what are you trying to accomplish? Why are you here? What are your goals for the year? How are you progressing? You just passed through the first quarter of a year, and it's a lot of reflection. So I find some similarities there. What would the Super Bowl look? You get past the Super Bowl, and we have our first meeting after that, and you're looking at these executives, and you're saying, you just watched the Super Bowl on Sunday. You saw the confetti come down. What would that be like for your company, your organization this year? What would be a win for you? So if there is any correlation, it's that directly.
Saw you're working on a project there, Baltimore 2029. Now, I'm from Baltimore.
I saw City College.
Yeah, absolutely. I graduated from Baltimore, the Castle on the Hill, a zillion years ago, as well. And
big Poly fan, right?
No, not at all. Absolutely. Well, me and my 2 brothers went to Baltimore City College, so no, we have no use. His wife, that's where he met his wife. She's City College. Yeah, we have no use. But 2029 is like I didn't realize it'd be 300 years. Baltimore has been around. So tell us about that project that you got going. Is a good opportunity for people to meet, etc. Another like that.
I put out the site Baltimore 2029 in February of 20, so a couple of weeks before the pandemic started there. And the idea of the site was we put out a collaborative video of some local leaders of saying these are things we would like to see addressed in the city by the time the city turns 329. And here are some positives that I don't think get enough attention that we would like people outside of our home to be aware. So my thought, you went to city. I grew up in Catonsville. I live in Owings Mills, county boy. But
I lived out there too. I lived out there in the 80s. I was just talking to in the 80s, back when they built the mall, Owings Mills Mall. Do you believe that? Believe that or not? Went to Cedarmere Elementary. Yeah, I got it. So I'm sure you've heard of that if you're out there in Owings Mills.
Yeah, but my thought has always been that the metro itself, if you looked at it as a whole, there are a lot of collective strengths that don't get enough attention, and that we need to do a better job of realizing that we are one cohesive region. And if you want to be successful, we need to everybody be moving in the same direction. You can be wherever you are on the political spectrum. I don't care. We should all be focused. Where do we align and move forward? So we did those initial interviews in 20. We put out some, again, things that we would like to see addressed by 29. We also touted some more of the strengths throughout the city and the metro. Didn't get maybe the attention we were hoping, but of course we had this large pandemic. I think everybody we've seemingly forgot about, but it was you forget what that was like. But we did another.
That's a whole nother,
We did another wave of interviews this past August. You can find those on the site, both the collaborative video and the individual. The one that I'd really draw your attention to, if you check out just one of them, would be David Bramble, who is the kind of running the Harbor Place renovation, revitalization. It was really inspiring. Yeah, and all the things that we've been able to do in terms of bringing people together, I am proud of that. Just with the idea of just being able to point out, hey, look, this is what we're doing. This is what we've accomplished. Let's shed some further light on that. So, if anybody can check that out, please do.
Real quick, off sports for 1 second. Concerned about Baltimore as a city. I did see in that video, and it's kind of the thing, how I don't live in Baltimore anymore. I live in Virginia. Drove to Baltimore about 2 years ago. I was a little surprised how easy it was. A lot of people have left, right? I mean,
population for the first time in, I don't know, I believe 2 decades, trickled up a little bit. But basically, the city population has continued to dwindle. But if you look between the city and the county, population has really stayed fairly consistent. And the reason I bring up the county is because Baltimore City is one of the only cities in the country that's not incorporated into the surrounding county. So what did you have in the 60s and 70s? You had white flight, right? And you had kind of all of the larger surrounding tax bracket around the city. But you need a strong, thriving city for the benefit of everybody. So where you asked what my thoughts? Overall, I think the city is in much better shape than it gets credit for. Violent crime is down considerably. Homicide rates are at a lowest rate in like 40 years. Get past that part because people are still scared. But if you look at the developments in Port Covington, Harbor East, Harbor Point, there are a lot to be excited about there. The coming Harbor Place redevelopment, when that is completed, that will drive another wave of building an investment into the city. Beyond that, you look at biotech, financial services. There is a lot there. There are things that need to be addressed, and even though violent crime is way down, it still needs to be. Still you need to continue to work at that overall and make people comfortable. And you need to invest into further education and infrastructure for the existing communities and make it accessible, not just for those outside coming in to play, but for the people that live there, that it's, you're building people up collectively. So sorry, that's my soapbox, but that's my thought.
Totally agree with that. And I think you said the magic word in there, investing in people. That's kind of, I think, in a lot of ways, what we're getting away from in 2026. We're like, you watch a CNBC interview and you listen to them talk about any CEO on there. You listen to them talk about, people or employees. And even if you don't know what they're talking about, watch your energy. Then as soon as they start talking about AI and technology, watch your energy, right? We're not investing in people. So I think that's good. I think like you're one of the things where we're seeing with you is like you're investing in people, investing in the locality of it. Tell the people where we can check you out, sir.
Come check out the site, BaltimoreSportsAndLife.com. There is a message board. You can come and tell me why I was wrong about whatever I said today. Come discuss the draft tomorrow. See whoever the Ravens picked. We'll go there. I'm hoping it's I would hope it's the lines either way, but myself always build out from the lines again because I'm old, but let's start there. You can find the handles for Twitter, X, or Facebook, but I got to tell you, I'm really not on the socials these days as I'm just can't really handle that. So come find me on the board and site. But Charles, thanks again. Appreciate you having me. Congrats on what you've built and what you're accomplishing. And anything I can ever do for you, please reach out.
Thank you, sir. And thank you. And thank all of you out there for watching the RAVORI Sports Conversation as well. Like and subscribe to all of our social media content. YouTube, Chris, go ahead and hit the subscribe to the RAVORI Sports.
Gotta hit that. You gotta smash that like button. Right?
You gotta smash the like button on that. Thank you very much, all of you, for watching, and you have a great day.